The very last sector that we have is obviously miscellaneous sector. This is now the sector that we always say it struggles. I always struggle to pronounce that word. It struggles across other sectors. This is allocated 2% of our total budget. This is where we look at any other program or project that is not charities, not sports, not arts, but maybe in between all the three or completely different from the sectors that we've just taken you through. So under miscellaneous, we look at such programs which do not necessarily fall within the three sectors that we gave you details on previously.
All right. And then the last piece of information that we want to talk about today is the different funding categories. So the NLC offers different categories of funding with different requirements depending on what kind of grant you're applying for. So I'll talk about the small grants first of all, and then Sanele can take you through medium and large.
Yes.
So for small grants, this is kind of our entry-level grant, and it's designed to make the funding accessible so that perhaps people who haven't managed a grant before, or whose operations are still quite small and don't need a huge amount of money to still be able to deliver a quality service, can apply for funding under this category. And here we would want, you obviously still have to apply on the gazetted application form, which is form 2010-2. You must give us proof of your registration as an NPO. We would want to see a copy of your constitution, as well as your project budget, your motivation, and your business plan. And these documents are all provided by the NLC for you to complete. So you don't have to do something on your own. They're very clear and detailed instructions, as well as examples that we've given in the various documents to make it as easy as possible for you to complete the form correctly. And then lastly, if you're a small grant, you don't have to give us annual financial statements. We just want to see a bank statement from your organization so that we have confidence that you are actually operating and that the bank account is opened in the name of the organization. And this bank statement cannot be older than 3 months from the date you submit your application. It can't be older than 3 months prior to that date.
And for the established organizations, these are the organizations that would have been in existence for more than 2 years. They can apply under medium or even large grant categories of our funding categories. Now, the medium grant and the large grant, they have specific requirements for you to qualify to access the funding. Number one, you need to have to fill in a form, which we call a 2010/1 form. This is a gazetted form. You do not need to change anything on the form. You must submit to us exactly in its format as it is on our website, and also as you would receive them from our provincial offices. We also expect you to submit to us the registration certificate of your NPC, NPO, or public benefit trust. We need to see that you are registered and you are acknowledged by your relevant authority in terms of your registration status. We also expect that you will give us a constitution which will detail the objectives of your organization. This is besides the objective of the project. These are the objectives in your constitution that will tell us why were you established. What is it? What is your founding mandate? Why do you exist as an organization? We also are going to provide you with templates for a business plan, a motivation for your project, and the budget in terms of how you need to structure it to submit to us. We do allow that you give us additional information in your own templates in terms of the business plan and the budget, just to provide additional information. But we also encourage that you complete our own templates for ease of capturing from our side in terms of the system. Now, the most important thing with the two categories, this is the medium and the large grant, is the independently reviewed financial statements. You will recall that if you've been, working with us previously at the National Lotteries Commission, we'll be asking for the financial statements. Now we are asking for independently reviewed financials, not just the annual financial statements. What does that mean? It means your financial statements must be prepared by your organization. In other words, your accountant will prepare the financial statements, but then they must be subjected to an independent review, who is a person that comes from outside of your organization to objectively review your financials. It's not your accountant that will provide the independent review. It's an objective person that is outside of your organization to provide that independent review. Now, the independent reviewer must be qualified to review the financials. It's not just your ordinary accountant. There must be additional certification to independently review financials for you to qualify for medium and large grant. Now, this is what most organizations will struggle with in terms of our application. So we want to emphasize this part so that everyone is clear. But if the National Lotteries Commission has funded you previously, we expect you to submit just one set of comparative, independently reviewed financials. One set of comparative, independently reviewed financials. That is if you have been funded by the NLC previously. If you were never funded, you have never been funded by the National Lotteries Commission previously, we expect you to submit two sets of financial statements that are independently reviewed, and they must be comparative. Each set must be comparative. In other words, we want to read 4 years in the two sets of your financial statements, and they must all be signed by the independent reviewer as well as by the organization itself. So this becomes very important because without these requirements, the proposal can be declined.
I think that's everything we have to share today. So I hope it's been helpful. Obviously, we have our call center as well as the provincial offices if people still have questions. And we look forward to seeing your quality applications coming to us and to supporting the very important work that your organization is doing, working with our communities for the benefit of the poor, the vulnerable, and people who really need our support in South Africa at the moment.
I think it's also important, Sarah, just to mention that for organizations that are within a specific province, they must submit in that province. What does that mean? It means if you've got a project and your location as an organization is in Gauteng, you can only submit in Gauteng. If you've got a project that you're going to implement in another province, but your location as an organization is in Gauteng, you can still submit in Gauteng. You don't have to go to a project and a province of implementation. You submit in a province of location of your organization. I think it's important that we mention that because it's one of the questions that will come, quite often for our contact center and the likes. Otherwise, all the documents are accessible on our website, which is www.nlcsa.org.za, and the contact center will assist you, and it's 0860 065 383.